The champagne glass slipped from my hand the moment her lips touched mine. That's all it took. One kiss. One perfect, devastating moment at midnight to destroy 15 years of friendship with Amara Okonkwo, the woman I'd loved in silence since the day we met in that cramped Brooklyn art studio. Now it's January 2nd, and she's blocked my number. They say you should start the new year by letting go of what no longer serves you. I guess I was what no longer served her. But here's the thing nobody tells you about unrequited love. Sometimes it is requited, and that's when things get really complicated. This is the story of how I lost my best friend by telling her the truth. Or maybe, how I finally found her. I saw Amara before she saw me. She stood in the corner of the rooftop bar, her dark skin luminous against the emerald silk dress that clung to every curve of her 6-foot frame. Her natural hair was twisted into an elegant updo, tiny gold pins catching the string lights like stars. Nigerian royalty, my mother had once called her. She wasn't wrong. "Sienna, you made it!" My heart did that stupid flutter thing it always did when she smiled at me. 15 years, and I still couldn't control it. Wouldn't miss it, Mars. I used her nickname, the one only I was allowed to use. Though I almost didn't recognize you without your paint-stained overalls. She laughed, pulling me into a hug that smelled like shea butter and jasmine. It's New Year's Eve. Even struggling artists get to feel glamorous once in a while. I was acutely aware of how perfectly my 5'4" frame fit against her body. How my auburn hair, finally grown out after that disastrous pixie cut, brushed against her collarbone. How her hand lingered on the small of my back just a second longer than necessary. Or maybe I imagined that part. I'd been imagining things for years. "Sienna Martinez, still showing up fashionably late," came a voice behind us. I turned to see Yuki Nakamura, Amara's agent, approaching with 2 glasses of champagne. Her jet black bob was razor sharp, her red lips curved in that knowing smile she always wore. Yuki saw everything. It was her job. Traffic from Connecticut was hell, I lied. Truth was, I'd sat in my car for 20 minutes, convincing myself to come inside. Yuki's dark eyes flicked between Amara and me. "Well, you're here now, just in time for the countdown." The rooftop was filling up. Collectors, artists, gallery owners. Amara's career had exploded in the past 2 years. Her paintings of Black women in moments of quiet power had made her a name in the contemporary art world. Meanwhile, I was still teaching high school English in the suburbs, grading papers about Romeo and Juliet while living my own tragic love story. "Come on," Amara said, threading her fingers through mine. "I want you to meet someone." My stomach dropped. The someone was Mei Ling Chen, a stunning Taiwanese curator with legs for days and an impressive resume from the Guggenheim. She was intelligent, successful, and clearly interested in Amara. I watched them talk about brushwork and color theory while nursing my champagne and wondering why I'd come. This was torture. Beautiful, exquisite torture. 10 minutes to midnight, someone shouted. Amara turned to me, her expression soft. "Mei Ling, would you excuse us? I need to steal my best friend for a moment." Best friend. The words were a knife between my ribs. She led me to the edge of the rooftop, away from the crowd. Below us, Manhattan glittered like a jewelry box someone had spilled across black velvet. "You okay?" she asked. "You seem distant tonight." I laughed, but it came out wrong, bitter. "I'm fine, Mars, just tired." Liar. She knew me too well. That was the problem. "Talk to me, Sienna." Amara's voice was gentle, but insistent. She leaned against the railing, the city lights casting shadows across her face. "What's going on?" I should have said nothing. Should have smiled and changed the subject and survived another year of loving her from the safe distance of friendship. Instead, I said, "Do you ever think about the night we met?" Her eyebrows lifted. "The studio? When you walked in covered in coffee because that asshole bumped into you? You gave me your shirt, stood there in your sports bra in front of everyone and didn't even care." I smiled at the memory. You said, fuck patriarchy and fuck stains. Amara laughed, that full-throated sound that made my chest ache. I was 23 and fearless. Now I'm 38 and I think about my reputation. You're still fearless. Not about everything. Something in her tone made me look up. She was watching me with an intensity I couldn't read. What do you mean? Before she could answer, a voice called out, 2 minutes! The crowd was gathering, couples finding each other, champagne glasses raised. Through the glass doors, I could see Mei Ling looking around, probably searching for Amara. You should get back to your guest, I said. She's not my guest. She's a colleague. She wants to be more than that. Maybe. Amara's eyes never left mine. But I don't. My heart stopped. Why not? She's gorgeous, successful, interested. She's not you. The words hung between us like smoke, like prayer, like something dangerous that could ignite if I breathed on it wrong. Mars, I know what you're going to say, that I'm confused or drunk or caught up in the moment. She moved closer, and I could smell her perfume, see the gold flecks in her dark eyes. But I've been thinking about this for 3 years, Sienna. Since the night you broke up with Rachel. Rachel. My ex-girlfriend who'd accused me of being emotionally unavailable. Who'd screamed that I was in love with someone else and too cowardly to admit it. She'd been right. Why didn't you say anything? My voice cracked. Because I was scared. Because you're my best friend and I couldn't lose you because... She stopped, shook her head. Because I'm a coward too. 1 minute! The rooftop erupted in excitement. Someone turned up the music. Through the crowd, I saw Yuki watching us, a slight smile on her face. Amara, I didn't know how to finish the sentence. Didn't know how to put 15 years of longing into words. 30 seconds. I love you, she said simply. I'm in love with you. I have been for longer than I want to admit. And if you don't feel the same way, I'll deal with it. But I can't start another year lying to myself. The crowd began counting. 10, 9, 8. I reached up, my hand trembling as I touched her face. Her skin was warm, soft, real. 7, 6, 5. I've loved you since the day you gave me your shirt, I whispered. 4, 3, 2. She leaned down. 1. Happy New Year. And I kissed her. I woke up alone, not in my bed, in Amara's. I recognized the ceiling, the exposed brick walls of her Harlem loft, the massive abstract painting she'd never finished hanging above the dresser. Early morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting everything in shades of gold and regret. The space beside me was empty, the sheets cold. My phone said 7:43 a.m. I had 17 missed calls, 12 from my sister, 3 from Yuki, 2 from numbers I didn't recognize, none from Amara. I found my dress, the midnight blue one I'd spent too much money on, draped over a chair. My heels were by the door, placed carefully side by side, like someone had tidied up after a guest. That's when I saw the note on the kitchen counter. Sienna. Had to go to the studio. Deadline. Help yourself to coffee. A not Mars. Not love. Just the letter A, like she was signing a business email. My hands shook as I made coffee I didn't want. In a kitchen I'd been in 100 times, but suddenly felt like a stranger's. We'd kissed for what felt like hours on that rooftop. We'd come back here, fumbling with zippers and buttons, whispering promises against each other's skin. She'd looked at me like I was art, like I was something precious she'd been waiting her whole life to hold. And now, nothing. I called her, voicemail. I texted, "We need to talk about last night." The message turned green. Not delivered. She'd blocked me. I stood in the middle of her loft, wearing yesterday's dress, drinking coffee that tasted like ashes, and tried to understand how I'd gone from the best moment of my life to this in less than 8 hours. My phone buzzed. Yuki. "Before you spiral," she said without preamble, "it's not what you think." "She blocked my number, Yuki." "I know. I'm with her now." "What happened? Did I do something wrong?" A pause. Then, "Sienna, she's terrified. You know, Amara, she's brave about everything except the things that actually matter." "That doesn't make sense. She's the one who said she loved me. And she meant it, which is exactly why she's freaking out." I heard muffled voices in the background. "Look, I shouldn't be telling you this, but her mother called this morning." My stomach dropped. Amara's mother was a force of nature, a deeply religious Nigerian woman who still held out hope that Amara would come to her senses and marry a nice man from their church. "What did she say?" "Someone from last night posted photos of you two kissing. They're everywhere. Instagram, Twitter. The gallery is already getting calls." I pulled up Instagram with shaking hands. There we were, Amara and me tangled together at midnight, her hands in my hair, my fingers gripping her dress. The caption, hashtag love is love, hashtag NYE 2026, hashtag Amara Okonkwo. It had 47,000 likes. Oh God. Her mother said, Yuki's voice was careful. She said if Amara continues this lifestyle, she's done. No more family, no more contact. I sank onto Amara's couch, the same couch where we'd watched movies and shared takeout and pretended we were just friends. "Yuki, what do I do?" "Give her time, or don't." I honestly don't know which is right. Neither did I. 3 days of silence turned into a week. I went back to Connecticut, to my small apartment and my stack of ungraded essays. I went through the motions. Teaching, eating, sleeping. My sister Carmen showed up uninvited with wine and empanadas. "You look like shit," she said, settling onto my couch. "Thanks, Car. Really needed that. What you need is to stop waiting for her to call." She poured us both generous glasses of red. "She made her choice. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is. She chose her family over you. That's the choice." But was it? I kept replaying that night. The way Amara had looked at me, the certainty in her voice when she said she loved me. That wasn't fake. That was real. I knew what it was like to come out to family who didn't understand. I'd lost my father for 2 years when I told him about Rachel. He'd come around eventually, but those 2 years had been hell. Was I really going to force Amara to go through that? My phone buzzed. Not Amara, Yuki. She's at the studio, alone. Take my key. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I grabbed my coat. The studio was in an old warehouse in the Bronx, converted into artist spaces that still smelled like paint and possibility. I'd been here dozens of times, had watched Amara create masterpieces surrounded by chaos. I found her in front of a massive canvas, adding violent strokes of crimson to what looked like a woman screaming, or maybe praying. With Amara's work, it was often both. "Yuki gave you her key," she said without turning around. "She's worried about you." "Everyone's worried about me." Another stroke. "My mother, my agent, the gallery. Everyone has an opinion about my life." "I don't." She finally turned. She looked exhausted. Paint in her hair, dark circles under her eyes, still wearing the same clothes from what looked like days ago. "Yes, you do. You're here, aren't you?" "I'm here because I love you, not because I have an opinion about what you should do." "That's an opinion, Sienna." "No, it's a fact." She set down her brush and I saw her hands were trembling. "My mother said I have to choose, her or this, family or sin. I know. You don't know. Your father came around, your family accepted you, mine won't. If I choose you, I lose everything I grew up with. My culture, my community, my—" Her voice broke. I wanted to cross the room and hold her, but I stayed where I was. You're right, I said quietly. I don't know what that's like, and I won't pretend I do, but I know what it's like to love someone so much it physically hurts. And I know what it's like to be loved halfway. I'm not loving you halfway. Then what are you doing? She looked at me with eyes full of tears and paint and 15 years of history. I'm trying to figure out how to be brave enough to choose myself. Take all the time you need, I said. I'll be here. I turned to leave. Sienna, I stopped. Don't wait for me. You deserve someone who chooses you immediately, without hesitation. You're right, I said, I do, but I want you anyway. It's been 2 weeks since New Year's Eve. Amara still hasn't called. But yesterday I received a package. Inside was a painting, small, intimate. Two women dancing, their faces obscured, their bodies telling the whole story. On the back, in Amara's handwriting, "Brave takes time. Wait for me?" I don't know how this ends. Maybe she'll choose me. Maybe she won't. Maybe love isn't enough when the cost is everything you've ever known. But I know this: some people are worth waiting for, even if the wait breaks your heart. What would you do? Would you wait for Amara or move on? Have you ever had to choose between love and family? Drop your thoughts below. I read every comment. And if you want to know what happens next, let me know. Maybe there's a part 2.